Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the Arcane Devlogs. So I've been a bit inactive for the past few months, however I've still been working on Arcane regularly and I have quite a bit of progress to show off in this video. So I'm changing up the style a bit for this devlog, and I'm just going to do a sort of showcase of all the new features I've implemented instead of just showing the progress each day and condensing it into the one video. I think this new style will be a lot more time efficient, so I shouldn't lose interest in creating devlogs and I'll actually be able to get them out at a regular pace. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the changes I've made over the past few months. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to go over is this menu screen. So I've actually set one up now. We can actually get into the game and save worlds and whatnot. So there's nothing really much going on at the moment apart from just this day-night cycle going in the background for nice visuals. But if we click on play, we can actually create a new world, call it really whatever we want, and change the world size, and then we can build the level and go into the game. Okay, so as you can see here, we've loaded into a desert biome. It's randomly generated. I think I put the world size on medium, so it shouldn't be too far this way until we get a new biome, but I'm not too sure. We'll just see when we hit one, I guess. So there we go, we've loaded up into the next biome. This is snow. It's a little bit of a harsh transition at the moment. I've got to get a nice fade going on in the background and fix this sort of just sudden change in ground. Okay, so once we've done a bit of running around and just played with the game a bit, we can pause and return to main menu, and the game will actually be saved and we can load back into it right where we left off. There's a few issues at the moment, like the background trees, or all the background elements not actually being saved, just because I'm not actually saving them, but I will do that in the future. The only thing being saved is all the actual interactable objects in this foreground. Anyway, so I'll give another example of saving. So if we come to the inventory here, and I'm just going to spawn in a few items that I've set up. This is actually a work in progress item that I'll showcase towards the end of the video with the lighting. But yeah, we can just move some objects around and note the position. And as we save the game, return to the menu, everything should be all dandy, and we will come back to that. So I've made quite a few changes to the compendium. I've added 2 new tabs, and the first of which is actually the spell sort of editor for the wheel. So as you can see, I've just made a few dummy spells, and we click on it and we can add it to a slot. So I'm going to add this one to this one and this one to this one. Okay, so we can access these spells by holding down C, and it's going to bring up the casting wheel. So as we can see, the edited spells that we just put in, where we put them, and all these are left blank still. So if we hover over this, there'll be more of a description, I guess, of it in the middle. It's just a basic design at the moment, but underneath the name it shows us how much mana it will use. So if we actually click on it, then it's going to take away 20 mana, and it's going to just display a dummy message up in the top left. So if we keep doing that, eventually we'll run out of mana and we won't be able to click on it anymore. So this is all just basic design at the moment. I still have a lot of fixing to do and a lot more features to implement as far as clarity goes and being able to select them nicely. Okay, so down here there's a little slot, and that's going to be where a spellbook goes. So a spellbook will be able to modify, just give unique modifiers to the spells, and say reduce the amount of mana they cost and stuff like that. So once you actually get a spellbook somehow, you'll be able to drag it from the inventory into the actual, into this slot here, and it'll come up in the far right hand side of the hotbar. And when we hold down C, you'll actually notice that the selected sort of outline comes over to you, and we unequipped an item if we have one in our hands, like that. You can't really see it before it disappears, but there we go, comes back. So as you can see here, when we go into the spell wheel, time actually slows down in the game, so that's just going to be a lot easier for selecting which spell you want and what you want to cast in sort of heated situations. Anyway, so as I've actually been talking now, the scene's actually switched over to the nighttime. It was a gradual sort of sunset, but just because I'm going through so many takes and it's just cutting so much that you're not actually seeing everything in between, it's going quite fast. Usually the day-night cycle is about 10 minutes, but I'll get back into that once I get up to the lighting segment of the video. Anyway, so I guess we'll just stick to this nighttime and we'll go into the next tab of the compendium. So this is the crafting sort of, the structures tab. So this allows the player to actually craft stuff like the enchanter and crafting benches and all the sort of stuff that you can place throughout the world and interact with. So you can build houses through here eventually and just do a lot of neat stuff. Anyway, so these are just default icons at the moment. I've just taken them from their actual in-game sprite textures. This one is stretched out weirdly, but this one for some reason is actually being nice. So as we click on that, it gives us a little prompt up here, left click to place a blueprint. And it's going to place it, and then it's going to show us what we actually need to build that. Anyway, so if we go back into our inventory, I have these items just because I've spawned them in. So it said we needed 3 wood and 2 stone, so we have plenty of that. We go ahead, actually, let's just throw the stone over there for demonstration. If we click on that, it's going to get rid of this 3 wood, and it's going to say, yep, we still need stone. If we click on that, it goes back in our inventory. And boom, there we go. It comes up with the Runic Enchanter. Okay, so I've just switched over to the test world just because it was a bit dark and hard to see in the other world. But yeah, it's time to go over what the Runic Enchanter and the crafting bench does. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Crafting bench crafts stuff, crafts items in your inventory through other items. So if we open this, we can search up the top here. It doesn't actually work at the moment, but it will eventually. The only crafting recipes I have up at the moment is the flint sword and the twig. So to craft the flint sword, it says we need 3 flint, which we have quite a bit of. Flint in the early game can just be found randomly along the ground in the normal world, so you can just pick that up and you'll be able to craft your first sort of tier of tools with it. So we have flint here, we need twigs. So we come over here, we just need 1 bit of wood and we'll craft, I don't know, say 4 sets of twigs. So we'll see that this actually gives us 4 twigs for each bit of wood. So this will actually give us 16 twigs. So we put that in our inventory and now we will be able to craft the flint sword. So if we do that, pick it up, swing it around, all dandy, we've just crafted stuff. So moving on to the Runic Enchanter. Now this nifty little contraption will enchant your tools, weapons, and stuff like that with enchantments. And we'll see the enchantments along the side here. We can actually search in this one, I think. No, we cannot. Never mind. Okay. And with the enchantments, if we click on it, it'll show us how much it costs, and it's going to cost 11 elemental points for Blaze 3. Now Blaze 2 and 1, they're actually here at the moment. I don't know why they're not actually in this list. I think I disabled them for simplicity. But this is going to cost 11. Blaze 1, I think, costs 3. And they each build into each other. So you don't have to worry about wasting points by skipping to the highest tier. You can actually build it up as you go. So I've given myself quite a few points just for testing purposes. I'm not actually sure how you're going to obtain these points in-game. I think I'm just going to do some sort of level up system, and yeah, you should be able to obtain them through that way. Anyway, so we have Blaze 3, costs 11, Elemental, 245. If we enchant that, it's going to take that amount of points away from our Elemental, and it's actually going to not let us get the Blaze 3 enchantment back here because it's already on our sword. I haven't actually set up any tooltips for the items, so you actually have no idea what any of these do or what their purpose is. You just gotta assume that this is a flint sword. Anyway, so, oh, look at that, it's dark again, yay! Okay, so it's light again, and we're back in the test world, and I just did the entire demonstration on the Blaze enchantment without remembering to hit the record button, so here we go again. The Blaze enchantment is passively, it gives off this little fire effect, and it will actually smolder enemies slightly if you tap them. Now that's a bit excessive at the moment. I think I might have to tone down the particles in that, but as you can see, it's just giving the sort of flame effect, and it's depleting his health as it goes along. Die. So Blaze 3 passively gives off this effect. So Blaze 1, actually, you have to actively click it and you will get this sort of effect. And what I mean by actively clicking is some enchantments have a active attribute to them. So when you right click, it will turn that on, and this will actually light up the entire sword. So it gives off this little fiery effect, and it will obviously deal more damage to enemies. I'm not too sure if it actually does here, if I've programmed it that way, but anyway, so when we extinguish this, it'll do a nice little puff of smoke, and we're back to our old ways. Edge 3, I believe, is just a damage multiplier. Just gonna deal a bit more damage. I don't think I've actually set it up because I'm lazy, but this is just to show off the core of enchanting. So anyway, so yeah, that's basically the enchantments done. Okay, we're back again. Now what you just saw was the caves. I'll get into that later, but for now we're going to move on to day-night cycle and lighting. Anyway, yeah, so that's the lighting at the moment. I have a lots of bugs that I need to fix with it. Oh, look, there's one of those bugs. Anyway, so I'm not too sure why this background hill's being illuminated. So these hills actually shouldn't be illuminated at the moment, but I changed the bounds before, and I haven't actually tested out the lighting for a while, so that's that. Okay, so moving on from the lighting, I'm now going to talk about tree cutting and chopping down these trees with an axe, which I can't actually get at the moment because there's no actual way of getting an axe. Be right back. Alright, we should have the axe now. Yay, there we go. Let's, we need twigs. Give me twigs. Boop, 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 boop. That was, why does it say 0? Okay, apparently I don't have an axe, but it's gonna work. So as we hit it, there should be a little particle effect coming out. It's not very noticeable, I'm gonna have to change that up. But as we hit the tree more and more, it loses saturation eventually until it just disappears into thin air and gives us oak wood. Obviously there's a lot more work to be done with the animations and stuff like that, but yeah. I could do this for hours. Never mind, I ran out of trees. Okay, so moving on, this is the most recent thing that I've done, and it's the cave system. We can click to enter, but we can never get out, because you just can't. This is supposed to signify the light beaming in from the actual entrance, but this should go up a bit higher, so should this, and there shouldn't actually be any background up here. It should just be darkness, and all these tiles are messed up. Anyway, so this is quite an intricate cave system. You can just keep going this way forever. Anyway, so lighting is the thing down here. You need a torch to see stuff. Anyway, so it actually took quite a while to get this cave system going. So right now I'm just showing a random generation of the entire cave system that's been generated here. I've lit everything up just so you can see everything, and everything's sort of broken off into nodes. And note that all this is actually randomly generated. I haven't just gone ahead and just placed stuff down one by one. The way I've done it is just through a bunch of nodes that attach together randomly to form the actual cave system and the randomness of it. So I've still got quite a lot of work to do with this cave system. I've got to get everything tiled nicely. I have to get overlaps between cave systems so that they can actually loop into each other and be a little bit more random that way. That's going to be a bit difficult, but I'll get there. I've also, of course, just got to add life down here. I've got to add a lot of monsters and ores and everything you would find in the cave. Anyway, so that just about wraps up this devlog. I'm sorry I've been a little inactive lately. I'm really hoping that this new layout and pacing of the devlogs will help me create them a lot quicker and easier. That's all I have to say. Bye.